Okay, so you've been out for a nice long ride, you've had a few hefty downhills and you smack your back wheel on a few things, so you're going to have potentially a loose spoke or a buckled wheel. It does happen quite a lot and always seem to be the person that's trimming on friends' wheels for them. So if you do have a loose or broken spoke, this is what you need to do. Okay, so you want to inspect the wheel completely, going through all of the spokes, both sides, checking around until you find the culprit and make sure there's no extra ones. There we go. Look how loose that is, that's finger tight, that one. So now this isn't a broken spoke, so I can just tighten this one back up. You've got to be aware of the fact that when you're tightening a spoke, you have a detrimental effect on the rest of the wheel. If you're tightening a spoke on the left-hand side of the bike, it's going to pull the rim to the left. The right-hand side, it's going to pull the rim to the right. The golden rule is never do more than quarter a turn at a time. I mean, obviously when it's this loose, you can nip it up tight and then start the quarter turn from there. If you go more than quarter turn, you risk making the wheel go egg shape because you're actually pulling more tension, which pulls the rim in as well as to each side of the frame. You really just want to get it tight enough to get home on. So carry with you a quality spoke key that fits your bike. Okay, so I'm just going to nip this up until it gets to the sort of bite point where there's a bit of tension in it, which is there. Now what I want to do is just get a rough feel on the rest of the wheel. So it should be pretty equally tensioned unless you've really knocked it hard. So that's about right there. Now I'm going to give the wheel a little spin just to see how things are. It's actually fairly true, so I would say that's just about enough to get home. I'm just going to run through and just check all of the spokes. And we'll also show you what to do if you snap a spoke, which is all too common, unfortunately. And by doing this on the spokes and doing this to the spoke that you've tightened, you help relieve the tension in it. And what that means is when you're doing up the nipple onto the spoke itself, the spoke can twist slightly. And if you don't relieve this tension, like untwisting the spoke, what will happen is the nipple will just undo itself again while you're riding. So it's important to do this. Okay, so let's just assume that this is a broken spoke and you're out on the trail. You found it and the spoke's going to be flapping around. What you don't want it to do is, become caught in a cassette or in a disc rotor or anything like that. You've got a few options here. If you've got plenty of tools with you, the best option is just to remove the spoke completely. You can leave the nipple in, it will just rattle around slightly. But in this case, it's on the rotor side, so if you've got a T25 Torx drive with you, you can remove the rotor and then unthread the spoke from the hub. Keep the spoke, don't litter the trail, take it with you. What you're going to have to bear in mind is because that spoke is gone, a bit of tension from this side of the rim now is going to be gone. So you're going to have to compensate by loosening these ones slightly, tightening these ones slightly. Again, just do this with quarter turns. Don't go any more than that. Just work your way slowly. You just want to get straight enough to get yourself home. Just nurse the bike home and then get it seen to properly. Your other option, if you haven't got tools to do that, is to do your best and secure the spoke. Now, I always carry with me zip ties or some duct tape, electrical tape, something like that. So you want to just basically tie the tape on to another spoke. Okay, so don't forget, only go a quarter turn at a time. Tiny movements make a big difference with the rim. Relieve the tension in the spokes, once you've tightened it, to stop it coming undone again. And it's also helpful to make a mark on the rim of the one that you've actually been adjusting, or the few you've been adjusting. So when you take it to a bike shop, they've got a place to start with. You could do this with a marker pen, you could wash this off later, or perhaps a bit of tape